welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute most critical, downright powerful tools in the entire Windows Server administration arsenal, group policies. If you really want to take control of your network, this is exactly where you start. Okay, so picture this for a second. You've just been tasked with configuring 1,000 computers. You've got to map network drives, set corporate wallpapers, enforce strict password complexities, and block USB storage on every single one of them. Doing that manually? Yeah, right, that's a total nightmare. It would take a whole team of people weeks, maybe even months. But what if you had a centralized magic wand that could do all of that across your entire network in just a few minutes without you ever having to leave your desk? Well, that magic wand is exactly what we're explaining today.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. What group policy actually is. 2. The GPO processing order, known as LSDO. 3. Creating and linking GPOs. 4. Common settings you'll use. And 5. Best practices and troubleshooting.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, what is group policy? It is literally the ultimate sysadmin superpower.
So a group policy object, or GPO, is essentially just a collection of settings. But these settings are a big deal. They dictate the exact working environment for user accounts and computer accounts all across your domain. They live centrally in a shared folder on your domain controllers called sysvol. But here is the absolute best part. They apply automatically. You set it up once, and Active Directory does all the heavy lifting, enforcing those rules at login and startup. You don't have to touch a single device.
But you're probably wondering, when exactly do these settings kick in? Well, regular computers refresh their group policy in the background every 90 minutes. And there's actually a randomized 30-minute offset built in just so your network doesn't get completely hammered with requests all at the exact same time. Domain controllers? They update way faster, every 5 minutes. And get this, security settings reapply every 16 hours, even if absolutely nothing has changed, just to guarantee everything stays compliant. Now, if you're testing something and just can't wait 90 minutes, you can always force an immediate refresh on a client machine. Just pop open a command prompt and run gpupdate/force.
Moving right along to Section 2, GPO Processing Order, or LSDOU. This is all about understanding the rules of the realm. The golden rule you absolutely need to remember here is last applied wins. The hierarchy follows the acronym LSDOU. So, Step 1. Local policies are applied. These are the settings baked into the local machine itself. Step 2. Site policies hit your physical network locations. Step 3 is domain policies, which blanket everything in the domain. Perfect for stuff like your baseline password policy. And finally, Step 4, OU, or organizational unit policies. Because OU policies apply last, they actually have the highest precedence. They're the most granular. So think of it like this. If your domain policy says everyone gets a blue wallpaper, but an OU policy says no, give them a red wallpaper, that OU level policy wins and the user gets a red wallpaper.
Now, of course, there are exceptions to this LSDOU rule, and they are incredibly powerful tools to have in your back pocket. First is block inheritance. This lets you stop GPOs from parent containers from flowing down into a specific OU. This is a lifesaver for protecting a test environment or maybe isolating a specific department's policies. On the flip side, you've got enforced, which you might also hear called no override. If you set a GPO link to enforced, you are guaranteeing that policy will win. It overrides any downstream conflicts, even if some other admin tries to use block inheritance. It basically mandates absolute compliance.
All right, Section 3, Creating and Linking GPOs. Let's look at forging the policy step by step.
It's a pretty straightforward 6-step workflow. Step 1, open up the Group Policy Management Console, or GPMC. Step 2, create the GPO. And hey, always give it a highly descriptive name. Step 3, edit your settings, diving into either computer or user configurations. Once you've got your rules dialed in, Step 4 is linking it to your target. That could be the whole domain, a site, or a specific OU. Step 5 is security filtering. By default, these policies apply to all authenticated users, but you can narrow that scope down by removing the default and dropping in a specific target group. And lastly, Step 6, you can optionally set WMI filters. These are amazing for conditional stuff, like say you only want a policy to run on Windows 11 machines or maybe just on laptops. WMI filters make that happen.
Which brings us to Section 4, Common Group Policy Settings. Let's talk real-world applications.
Let's just rapid fire through some of the coolest, most common capabilities here. You can enforce a rock-solid password policy. We're talking complexity, length, and lockout thresholds to completely shut down brute force attacks. You can use drive mapping so users automatically connect to the right network shares the literal second they log on. What about software deployment? You can silently push MSI packages to thousands of machines in the background. You can trigger startup or log-on scripts using batch files or PowerShell. Trying to build some corporate identity? Enforce a standard desktop wallpaper. Need to prevent data theft? You can completely disable USB storage by blocking read and write access. Or you can restrict the control panel so standard users can't mess around with critical PC settings. A single GPO can do any of these things, instantly securing or configuring the workspace for thousands of users.
Finally, we hit Section 5, Best Practices and Troubleshooting. These are the guardrails for your domain. Look, sometimes things don't apply the way you expect, and when that happens, you need the right tools. For quick command line checks, you've got gp-update/force to immediately refresh things, gp-result/r for a quick summary of what policies are actually hitting a machine, and gp-result/h if you want a really nice detailed HTML report. But if you need robust domain-wide reporting and auditing, you'll want to lean into PowerShell. Commandlets like get gp-result instead of policy will generate those HTML reports, get GPO lets you list and check statuses, and get gp-inheritance is perfect for seeing exactly how policies are flowing down into a specific OU.
Now, I want to warn you about the 4 silent killers of group policy deployment. If you link a GPO and it just won't apply, check these first. Number 1 is WMI filter blocking. If you attach a WMI filter and it evaluates to false on the target machine, the policy just silently skips applying. 2. Security filtering. If you scope the policy to a specific group, but your target user or computer isn't actually in that group, again, it skips. 3 is loopback processing. This one is super sneaky. It's where computer-side settings completely override user GPOs, so always check those computer policy settings. And 4, sysfall out of sync. If file replication is failing across your domain controllers, your GPO settings are going to differ depending on which DC the client happens to authenticate against.
Okay, let's pause for a second, because this next point is absolutely crucial. Never edit the default domain policy or the default domain controller's policy. Literally never. Leave them alone. Those need to remain completely untouched as your ultimate fallback baselines. If you need custom settings, always create new GPOs. Honestly, consider this the absolute golden rule of IT administration.
To wrap up our practical advice, let's look at a few more survival tactics. Because remember, mistakes at this scale apply instantly. First, you must name your GPOs descriptively. A name like corp sec password policy v1 is great because it tells you exactly what it is, who owns it, and the version. Second, always test first. Please link your new GPOs to a dedicated test OU and validate them with gp-result before you ever let them near your production environment. And finally, document every GPO. Just use the comment field right there in the GMPC to record who owns it and what it's supposed to do. Trust me, you will thank yourself 6 months from now when you're staring at a policy trying to figure out why it exists. So, we'll leave you with this final, somewhat terrifying thought to chew on. A poorly tested group policy object can quite literally break 1,000 PCs in 90 minutes or less. It is an immense amount of power at your fingertips. So, the question you have to ask yourself today is your test environment truly ready for your next policy update? Master this tool, but use it responsibly. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we hope this helps you master group policies and seriously level up your AD skills.